as we start chapter 5, we're going to start looking at what are called systems of equations. So you're going to need your workbooks, and we will be on page 105, I believe it is. 101. Page 101 is where you should be. It should look like this, say 5.1 at the top. So solving systems of linear equations is what this entire chapter is going to be about, and we're going to be looking at different ways to solve them. Now, first of all, it's going to be important to know what a system of linear equations is. So you can write this right up here at the top of your workbook. But a system of linear equations is when you have two equations and you are looking for a point of intersection. So in other words, today we're going to graph them. So if we were to graph the two equations, wherever those two lines would cross is your answer. So that means whenever you plug that point, that xy point, into each equation, it ends up making a true statement. Now, before we go on and start looking at this, I want to review how you actually graph linear equations. So remember, the easiest way to graph is if they are in this form, y equals mx plus b. So let's say we have y equals 1/2 x minus 4. First thing you have to do is you want to plot the y-intercept, which is b. So right here in this equation, that's going to be -4. So I'll come down to -4, put a dot. Then, second, you're going to use your slope to get to the next point. So since my slope is 1/2, remember we do rise over run. So I'm going to rise 1 and I'm going to run 2. Rise 1, run 2, and you can do that as many times as you need to. I could also look at that as -1 over -2, because two negatives make a positive. So I could actually come down 1 and left 2. Down 1 and left 2. So here would be the line for that equation. Now, if you have an equation that is not in slope-intercept form, today, easiest thing to do would be to solve it for y. So if I had an equation like 2x plus y equals 3, I want that y by itself. So to get rid of the 2x, I need to subtract 2x since it's positive. So we have y equals, and then remember, I always want to put what's with the x first just to make it look like the form we're using. So y equals -2x plus 3, and then you could follow these steps to graph it. So if we look in your workbook at activity 1, it says your family starts a bed and breakfast. It spends $500 fixing up a bedroom to rent. The cost for food and utilities is $10 per night. That's what your family has to pay to keep it running. Then your family charges $60 per night to rent the bedroom. So within this word problem, you actually have two equations embedded in there. Part A is going to help us write the first equation. Part B is going to help us write the second one. So the first equation is for the cost, what it costs to run the place. So cost in dollars, it said it costs $10 per night, so that's 10x. And then you had that initial investment of $500 to fix it all up. So here's your first equation. Now that C could also be a y. If you wanted to make it a y, that's fine. Okay, then part B says write an equation that represents the revenue or the income. So the revenue is what your family is making off of this bed and breakfast. So it said they charge $60 per night, and that was it. So our equation is just simply going to be R equals 60x, 60 times however many nights they're staying. So part C gives you the definition of a system of linear equations. It says a set of two or more, we'll only be dealing with two equations. So a set of two equations is called a system of linear equations. Now all C wants us to do is just write the system. So whenever it says write the system, you are just basically going to write the two equations stacked on top of each other. Just like that. Done with that part. Now keep in mind the C and the R could both be the Y, so Y equals for each of those. Okay, then on the next page, page 102, activity 2, they want you to complete the table. Okay, so we have our two equations. The first one, the cost was 10x plus 500. So what they've given you here in this top row is they've given you values for x. So all you have to do is plug each of these numbers into where the x is and solve it for c. So if I plug a 0 in, 10 times 0 is 0, plus 500 is 500. So that goes there. And we do this all the way through. 10 times 1 is 10, plus 500 is 510. And we'll keep going up. This one goes up by tens each time. Okay? Then the equation for the revenue was R equals 60x. So 60 times 0 is 0. 60 times 1 is 60. Times 2 is 120. And we just keep going up from there. Okay? Now part B says, how many nights does your family need to rent the bedroom before breaking even? Now up here in the activity, it says to recover the cost of fixing up that bedroom and for running it, that's called your break-even point. So if we look at all of our costs through here, we want to find the point where they match up, and that is right here. At 10 nights, their cost and their revenue is the same, and anything above that is going to be profit for you and your family. So I want you to go ahead and do activity 3. You're going to graph both of those equations on this one graph, and you'll see the point of intersection is where the two costs are equal to each other at 10 nights. So go ahead and finish this activity 3.